Hello everyone and welcome to the session entitled Phraseology and Language Attrition in International School Context. My name is Rena Alasgarova and I come from the modern educational complex named in honor of Heydar Aliyev, located in Baku, Azerbaijan. You can see our educational complex on your screens now, and this is the school I used as the context of this case study. Before we begin, I would like to invite you to have a look at the following sentences and think what might be odd about them. Look at you, you came dry out of water again. Dealing with all the mess at work and his personal life, George finally decided to put his family in the vortex of an angle. I was planning to get my recommendation letter from my history teacher, but he was busy. But in the evening, I managed to get it. You may see that in sentences 1 or 2 there are phrases in a different color. These are the direct translation of phraseological units of one language into English, the phrases that might have caused misunderstanding. But these are the phraseological units of the Russian language, the language that the participant of this case study uses as his native tongue. Let us have a look at what these phrases actually mean. To come dry out of water means to get away with in Russian, so look at you, you got away with it again. And to put or be in the vortex of an angle is to prioritize. So these examples show that sometimes the direct translation of phraseological units from one language into the other might cause break in the communication. As to the third example, it is the quote from the interview I conducted with the participant of this case study, and while commenting on this communication with his father in their native tongue, Russian, the participant said that he couldn't understand why his father is getting angry at him, as when his father asked the participant how he could get the recommendation letter from his teacher in the evening, while he was at home all evening long, the participant said that he never told his father that he got the recommendation letter in the evening. And this is where the argument began, because his father told him, like, you literally told me that you got this letter in the evening. Later, the participant realized that when he said in the evening, he was actually thinking in English, in his second language, and was translating what he was gonna say into Russian. And what he was intended to say was at the end of the day, not in the evening, but in Russian it sounds as in the evening. So we'll have a look at more instances of such misunderstandings that are caused by language attrition. So in the very first conference on language attrition that occurred more than 40 years ago, there has been numerous research on what language attrition is and what it is not, and how language attrition is affected by social linguistic factors. And all this research, or like the majority of the research, was conducted in immigrant setting, but with the growing number of international schools in non-English speaking countries, the language attrition phenomena is now expanding from immigrant context to international school context, where English is used as a medium of instruction and English-only policies are applied and maintained. That would mean that students are taught almost all the subjects, or all subjects in English, are encouraged to use English not only in classes but during the recess with their peers and their teachers, as some of the teachers are expatriates. So there is a tendency to hire expatriate English speaking teachers, or expatriate native speaking English teachers by international schools. So the students have actually no opportunity to speak any other language but English with them. The limited exposure to the native language and limited native language instruction also contributes to the first language attrition. For the purpose of this study, I employed the qualitative research design and semi-structured interview that actually helped me to ask more questions to dig deeper into the participants' experiences and attitudes toward the first language attrition. So the study explores the intricate relationship between the quality and quantity of exposure to the second language and its influence on the lexical fluency and accuracy of phraseological units in the first language. Specifically, the study seeks to determine to what extent exposure to the second language within an international school context impacts the native speaker's proficiency in using phraseological units in their first language. So thus I employed the semantic analysis, which is the linchpin of the study's data and analysis process. This systematic approach holds particular relevance for linguistic research due to its capacity to unearth intricate patterns and semantic nuances within qualitative data. I also utilize non-probability convenience sampling. The case study is limited to only one participant who is a high school student. He is currently in grade 12 A level. His first language is Russian, and he got his primary education in a school where Russian was used as the medium of instruction, and switched to an international school after he completed his primary education. So the shift to the international stream resulted in the removal of Russian from the curriculum for the past 4 years of secondary education. So before conducting the interview, I got the consent from the school principal, from the participant and his family. The participant was well informed that the participation is of voluntary nature, and he could withdraw himself from the project whenever he felt so. Luckily, he didn't, and he had an opportunity to ask the question about the project and his participation in the project. So for this study, I used NVivo to transcribe the interview. I also used NVivo for the semantic analysis, and it actually saved a lot of time. I also adopted a sequential approach combining both deductive and inductive strategies. This dual approach enhanced the depth and richness of the semantic analysis. It ensured that I captured both the expected themes related to the research question and unexpected yet valuable for the further understanding of language attrition within the context of international schools. The following codes emerged during the deductive approach. The use of English, use of Russian, attitudes towards the language attrition, and the language attrition itself. So you can see the number of references in the column here, the number of references in the interview. So the following themes emerged during the inductive approach. So the overarching theme is decline in L1 proficiency, which is literally the language attrition. It encapsulates the central focus of the research, indicating that the language attrition is indeed occurring within the context of international school settings. Within this theme, several sub-themes were identified: the impact on communication, then the impact on communication, and this sub-theme corresponds to the situation where the participant mixes language expressions and how it impacts communication and leads to misunderstanding. First language interference in L2. This theme is associated with the participant description of how words and phrases from English influence their use of first language and cause interference. Decreased input in the first language relates to the participants' recognition of a decline in their proficiency in the mother tongue since studying in an international school. As a consequence, efforts to maintain the first language represent the participants' efforts to preserve some level of proficiency in their mother tongue, such as reading books in Russian. So moving on to discussion. Okay. The SIMs and sub-SIM derived from the data analysis provide insights into the participants' experiences with the language attrition. The participants' predominant use of English at school and with peers highlight the impact of the school's English medium instruction policy on their daily language practices. The participants' self-identified decline in Russian proficiency, particularly in writing and idiomatic usage, suggests evidence of language attrition. What is particularly striking in the participants' narrative is the instance where the language attrition leads to miscommunication and confusion. So, for example, when participants said, "I might say that something smells funny," he would mean he would not be understood by his friends who are non-English speakers or his family, because in Russian that would sound as smell ridiculous. Or there was an instance where which led to total confusion. So the participant reflects on one case when he and his father were at different locations, because the participant said that he was down the road in Russian, but in Russian that would mean down the slope. So his father misunderstood him and was waiting for him in an absolutely different location, and got angry because the participant was given the absolutely different directions to him. But the findings align with the prior research indicating that the second language exposure, particularly in academic setting, can impact an individual's native language. The influence of the second language on the participant's mother tongue is evident in occasional interferences and misunderstandings reported by the participant, reflecting the complexities of maintaining proficiency in a multilingual context. I have noted that I would take words or phrases from the English language and unconsciously they are translated into Russian, which causes some sort of interference because my parents don't even understand what I'm saying sometimes. Furthermore, the participant attitude toward the language attrition reveal a pragmatic approach, emphasizing the practicality of using English for academic and future professional endeavors. The findings illustrate the challenge faced by the participant in maintaining their mother tongue while studying in an English-dominant environment and the impact of this language attrition on their daily interactions. They underscore the real-world implication of language attrition, where phrases that may make sense to the speaker can result in confusion to the other. In conclusion, I would like to mention that the participants' experience highlight the challenges in maintaining proficiency in their mother tongue while predominantly engaging with the second language. The study underscored that the quality and quantity of the second language exposure significantly impact the native speaker's first language proficiency, aligning with the concept of cross-linguistic influence. But there are some restrictions to the study. Which namely is the limited generalizability of the findings to broader population or different contexts. The use of convenience sampling may introduce bias as participants were not randomly selected. There are some recommendations I would want to make. Recommendations include broader and more diverse investigations into language attrition within formal education, comparative studies across languages and contexts. Should you have any questions, you can use this QR code to ask your questions in the Padlet, and you also have a chance to reply to the questions. You can also contact me at rena.alasgarova@mtk.edu.as. Thank you very much for having me today. Have a great day.